Hey everyone. Well, Christmas is almost upon us, and today I just wanted to talk to you about different spices that we use at Christmas time, because I've been thinking about them and there's more to them than you might surmise. But before we go on, I just want to say hello to Hetty, and I hope your recovery is going well and that you're getting out and about again. So today I'm just collecting some holly and ivy from our own garden, because the various holly plants that I have actually grown to an extent where I can start pruning them, and the ivy over there on our archway trellis has just gone crazy. Definitely needs to be pruned back a bit. And by the way, for a special Christmas and New Year offer, I've put together a bundle of herbal courses. I'll tell you about it later on, but know that there is a link in the box below as well. So I'm going to go and get the ivy now. And we're just thinking about the spices we use at Christmas. They make the house so aromatic and wonderful when you walk in after using them in your baking. And it's really interesting that all of them that we use, so I'm thinking about cinnamon, cloves, nutmeg, mixed spice, they all benefit the digestive system. So just think about that for a second. I've been thinking about all the spices we use at this time of year, and obviously we use them at other times as well, but particularly at Christmas. They'd be associated with our Christmas cake and with different foods that we cook and different pastries. They're so tasty and aromatic, and they enhance our food with their distinct flavours. But could they be healing as well as our wonderful herbs are? Spices have been used for over 3,000 years that we know of, so I'm sure they were used before that as well. And they've been used in China, Egypt, the Middle East, and then the Romans, as they expanded their empire west, they brought spices to the west as well, into Europe. And in those times, and up until quite recently, they were only accessible to the rich because they were so expensive, having travelled so many thousands of miles, that the price was really high. But nowadays, we can walk into any supermarket and we can find cinnamon and cloves, nutmeg, mixed spice, cardamom, mace, vanilla, cumin. You name it, we can find anything from any part of the world easily and effortlessly compared to the past. And so maybe we don't give it enough thought, and maybe we don't appreciate what has to happen to bring those spices to our local shelves. So it's just something, it's a pause for thought when we're trying to think of others at Christmas as well, to think of all the people who've been involved in bringing that little tub of cinnamon or cloves or whatever into your local shop and into your kitchen. So we've got lots of moss here that I'm going to scoop up to make a little arrangement, but I'll just tell you now about the spices. So let's think about cinnamon. It's a lovely spice for bringing out the sweetness of fruit, and we put it into apple pies as well as into Christmas cakes, but it's also a digestive aid. It's going to relieve nausea and vomiting, but the best thing about it is it balances blood sugars and metabolic rate. So if you are concerned about, diabetes or anything like that, start to use cinnamon every day. Don't just save it for Christmas. The other thing about all these spices are that they are all digestive aids. They reduce flatulence, they prevent bloating, they are going to prevent nausea, vomiting, pains in the bowels. Cloves is another spice which we use at Christmas time, and we put it into our baking goods, and we also put it into our hot toddies, because clove is one of those things you must have for hot Irish whiskey. But apart from putting clove into your cakes and pastries and hot whiskies, clove is another natural digestive aid, especially if people are going to be eating a lot of rich food and they may end up with flatulence and bloating. Clove is going to relieve those symptoms, but it's also antibacterial, it's analgesic, it's going to relieve pain in the bowels. It's good for toothache too. And what is interesting about clove is it's actually, you look at it, you don't really know what it is. Is it like a peppercorn? It's actually a tiny little flower that hasn't opened that comes from the clove tree. And it's called clove because it's derived from Old French clou for nails, because the tiny little clove looks just like a nail. And so there you go, that's a little bit of history about it as well. So not only is it lovely in your baking, but it's also going to relieve toothache, it's going to relieve pain in the guts, it's going to relieve nausea and vomiting and flatulence. One of my absolute favourites is nutmeg, and I like to grate it over my vegetables as well as putting it into sweet pastries. But nutmeg does all that the other spices do. It's very good for the digestive system, and it relieves nausea, vomiting, flatulence and fermentation in the stomach. So you don't want things to be fermenting in your stomach. But apart from that, it also supports the kidneys and the liver. So imagine if you were one of the rich people at a huge Elizabethan banquet and you've got course after course after course. You're going to need these spices just to help you to be able to enjoy the meal and to recover afterwards. And so nutmeg is vital in that kind of detoxification process, supporting the liver and kidneys. And then we've got mixed spice, which is a combination of the above, but also includes fennel and ginger, which are again notoriously beneficial to the digestive system. So it's wonderful how all of these herbs are used at a time of great, immense feasting, and very much needed and appreciated, I'm sure. Thinking of other lovely things at Christmas, it's lovely to have that tangy citrusness of the orange, which is another staple of Christmas feasting. And it brings another beautiful scent into the house as well. I've had to come in because of the wind and the rain. But to finish off, before we finish talking about spices, we can't not mention frankincense and myrrh. They would have been classed as spices even though they're gum resin from trees in the Middle East. But they're both have health attributes. We don't take them internally, but we use them we use frankincense as an anti-inflammatory and as an anti-carcinogen, and we use myrrh as an antibacterial. They're used in oils, they're used in incenses, they're used in the cosmetics industry, and they would have been extremely valuable at the time because of that antibacterial and anti-inflammatory properties that they have. And of course, I'll just put that down. I'm talking about spices, but don't forget those amazing herbs that we use at Christmas as well. We use sage in our stuffing, and we use rosemary on our meat joints, and we use horseradish. They all have amazing health properties that really benefit us at this time of the year. And again, they're all good for digestion. So I hope you can incorporate all these amazing, wonderful gifts of nature in your Christmas preparations. And that reminds me now, I've got to bring in the tree. This year we have a tree. Usually I go foraging in the woodlands for branches and I make a tree, as you can see from this earlier video from last year. But this year, because of Storm Dara, this tree was knocked, so we were very fortunate to find it, and this is the tree we're using this year. I never agree with, personally, I don't like to buy trees that have been grown and harvested simply for 2 weeks over Christmas. So this is such a gift. Okay, I'll take this in the house and we'll decorate this later on. And don't forget, special offer of herbal course bundle. All the details are in the link below. It's 30% off plus a free course thrown in. So give it some thought and have a wonderful week, and I hope all your preparations go well. I hope you enjoyed today's film. If you did, subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. And have a look at the website danusirishherbgarden.com for more information about us and about the herbal medicine courses I offer and the Wise Woman Way training. And if you go to the shop, you can find the books, the weed handbooks and other herbal goodies. And remember, we put a new film out every Sunday. So looking forward to seeing you next week.